we're back talking about the gut microbiome. There was a great amount of interest last week from the post that we did. And so the next piece of advice I want to share with you all is how to diversify this gut microbiome. So just to recap, our microbiome is an ecosystem of bacteria, viruses, and fungi that all reside in our gut. And the more bacteria, good bacteria that we have in our gut, the better our overall health. Not only is it the amount of good bacteria that we have, but also the diversity of the bacteria. So the amount of different bacterial strains that we have in our gut also is a dictator of great overall health. So how do we diversify this microbiome? The number one place to start is eating a diverse diet. We are creatures of habit, myself included. We tend to eat the same thing over and over and over again. But the best thing you can do to maintain a diverse gut flora is actually to rotate your food every 4 days or so. So don't eat the same thing every day. Rotate it every 4 days, a different breakfast, different lunch, different dinner, different snacks. And this allows you to get a wide variety of nutrients, different types of fiber that help feed this good bacteria. It also prevents you from developing food sensitivities, because if we do eat the same thing over and over again, we're more likely to develop a food sensitivity to those foods that we're eating more often than not. So diversify your food, rotate your food. That will establish a really healthy gut. The second place to go is eating fermented foods and taking probiotics. So fermented foods are things like kombucha, kefir, tempeh, all of those cultured foods replenish the good culture in our system, the good bacteria. You also can take a probiotic capsule, but you want to make sure when you're taking a probiotic that it is a high dose and it is a multi-strain probiotic. So not just acidophilus, not just bifidobacteria. You want to take a probiotic that has multi-strain, because then we're feeding all of our different bacterial cultures, and that's what we want to diversify the amount of bacteria in our gut. Then we want to focus on a prebiotic. So we talked about that in the last video. Prebiotics are so important and they're often forgot about, but a prebiotic is a type of fiber that's found in food, and this is what the healthy bacteria grow on and thrive on. So you need to have a good amount of prebiotic as like the type of food that's feeding these good bacteria. And these are found in things like apples and bananas and oats and artichoke and asparagus. These are foods that are all really high in prebiotics. So definitely work your way through that list and get a lot of foods that are high in these prebiotics, which is food for these biotics or good bacteria. The next thing is to limit your artificial sweeteners. So if people are still doing artificial sweeteners, if you're still doing Splenda and you're still doing aspartame, you should stop for other reasons. It's just a chemical storm that you're putting into your body. But these artificial sweeteners actually feed the bad bacteria, the enterobacteria in your gut. These artificial sweeteners are feeding the bad bacteria. And what happens is when you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria in relation to the good bacteria, you get something called dysbiosis. And that's when you have digestive concerns. So when you have an overgrowth of the bad bacteria, you get digestive problems like bloating and gas and irregular bowel movements and even acid reflux, skin conditions. There's a whole host of things that can happen when your gut balance is out of balance. So we want to keep the good bacteria in check, and that is limiting your artificial sweeteners. The next tip is to eat foods that are rich in polyphenols. These are plant compounds. They're found in wine and green tea and dark chocolate, all the delicious things, and they're broken down by the gut to produce good bacteria. So focus on eating those. And then lastly, limit antibiotics as much as you can, because we're doing all of this work to grow and promote good bacteria, and it all gets wiped out with an antibiotic. So the good and the bad get wiped out, and it's very difficult to replenish these stores after. So if you can avoid it, please do. If you can't, of course, take it. But if we can try to do something instead of taking common amounts or larger amounts of antibiotics, then that would be an amazing place to start. So I hope that makes sense. These are ways to diversify your flora. And then next, maybe we'll talk about dysbiosis and what that looks like and what that means.